We are going to understand the process-oriented storage control functionality in EWM system. The purpose of this functionality is that whenever you have, let's say for inbound process, when you receive a product, it doesn't directly goes to your destination bin. However, it goes through certain steps or processes before that. For example, when you receive a product, you would want to count the product or carry out quality inspection, or you want to, add an extra label or paste a label on the product. And then finally, once all the necessary steps are done, then you are going to put it away in the destination bin. But like I said, between your receiving, as in when you receive the product physically in your warehouse, and before it goes to its destination or targeted bin, it goes to certain steps. And for that purpose, if you want to automate those steps so that system can guide the operator, this functionality will be very much relevant. There is another functionality called LOSE, but I'm not going to talk about that in this one. So there are already pretty much there are too much information available about this topic on web. So I'm not going to talk about the details which are already there, but some specific technical stuff about it, which I couldn't find anywhere on the web. So, and certain point which are quite confusing, but and they're not kind of well explained. So I'm going to talk about those. So what I've done is I have created two, POSC process in my warehouse. Now, POSC is not just limited to your inbound; it can be used in your outbound or within the internal process. Like for example, when you are trying to replenish before the replenishment process, the product before it actually goes to your destination, when you would want to do some extra labeling or things like that, and also it is relevant. But in this example, I'm taking the simplest example of it, and that would be your during the put away process or your inbound process. So as you can see, and like I mentioned, that this is very much kind of redundant information which you see over here, and it's already available on web. So I won't go into much detail, just at a high level. So each individual step represents what you're physically going to do in the warehouse on a particular product. So this POSC process, and you would understand that there would be different kind of products in your warehouse. Not every product has to go through the same process. Let's say the product A goes through step 1 2, but the product B would go through step 1 2 3, and maybe there is another product which goes through step 1 2 3 4. So depending upon the product, you would be performing these steps. And the purpose of this functionality is to kind of guide the operator with the help of system, telling him that, okay, this is a warehouse task, now go and process it. And if you have the resource management activated and the RF device and the queue determination, etc. So the relevant, and again, depending upon whether it is semi system guided or system guided, etc., or manual one, then system will assign the relevant warehouse order to a queue and to a resource. I mean, whenever the resource logs into the RF device. So now coming back to this PUSC one, like I said, it's kind of redundant, so I'm not going to talk about these IB013 and all. So let's have a quick look at these, what this IB01 etc. represents. So these are pretty standard one. IB01 is represents unloading, and you can see these two are kind of descriptive one. For the system to understand whether it is unloading or counting of the product or whether it is quality inspection, these are the internal process step. So you can create your own external process step, but just ensure that you're mapping it to the right one. As you can see, there is no option to create a new one. You have to leverage the existing one, and there is a specific sequence in which these steps have to be defined, not here but when it comes to the assigning the storage process step. For example, you can't do unloading at the last, right? You have to first unload the goods physically. Once the truck arrives, you will pick up the product or the handling unit or the boxes or the carton or pallets, and you will put it at the door or the staging area, which is connected to your door, right? So which means that unloading has to logically and physically also, it has to be the very first step. So that's what the sequence means, that there is a specific sequence in which the steps has to be assigned in your POSC. You can't just do, the other way around. So we are going to use these steps: deconsolidation. We're gonna unload it, deconsolidate, and put it away. So basically, in the example which I'm gonna demonstrate here is that I'll be using our delivery wherein we have three different products. They are all packed into the same product or put into the same pallet, and then we break down the pallet and split up the product, kind of repack them in a separate HU, so that because they will go into separate bins, etc. Deconsolidation in itself is another topic, so I'm not going into those details. Now, like I said, moving on further about, like we have already seen that what is the purpose of, and it talks about the direction. So these are the possible options you have. Uh, Now let's have a look at it. So this very step, you don't have to do it as such because it's not your warehouse specific. As you can see, there is no warehouse number or column. So these are predefined. You can leverage or use those as it is, or you want to copy them and create yours. That's up to you. Now, since they are already created, this is a very crucial step. And I've noticed that the information available on web, they do not explicitly talk about these as such. Of course, we can see like what data needs to be maintained here, but I'm going to talk about the relevance of it. And the most confusing part which I find is that most of the information which I have accessed is that the same WPT has been used multiple times, or maybe there are different WPTs assigned to each individual step. But then how the system determines that when you receive an inbound delivery from your S4 or from ECC system to your EWM system, then how does system understand that the POSC functionality has to be called, and then to which movement type we should assign those values. So before I get into this, let's have a look at the determination of the POSC process flow. So at the core of it, we have the WPT, and WPT gets determined based on your document type, your item type, and there are other possible values, right? So let's go to the specific one which we have. So you can see that there are a couple of entries which we can see over here is that, and one of those is this one. So it's been mentioned, that if you want to use POSC, then in the material master, you should assign this value, which is process type determination indicator. And then this indicator, it's just a descriptive value which is defined in another step, and this indicator gets assigned to your material master for which you want to do perform those or the material which will go through those specific steps. Like I said that different products will go through different steps, right? So which means that the WPT is determined at the item level, right? It's not at the header level. So each material can be assigned to different process type indicator, and when you have an inbound delivery received in your EWM system, all those products could be part of the same inbound delivery document, but then again they are different separate line items in that, and each item system can determine a separate WPT. And like in this example, you can see that the document type is still the same, but we have different values defined, and each value gets assigned to material master. So this is how you determine it. Now, as we have seen previously, that there was a couple of WPT which were assigned to the POSC process flow. There, I basically used this one, and there is another one 3065. So the POSC, other than the determination of WPT, this is basically a way to determine the WPT, but in terms of supporting system, so that it determines the uh, not only the WPT but the specific or the relevant POSC flow functionality. What we need to do is we need to come over here and let's find the one which we are using. So I was explaining earlier that these are the two which I've used earlier in my POSC process flow, right? Now the question is that to which movement type I should be assigning the POSC value. Should I be assigning to both of these, or to the one which gets determined in your inbound delivery? So the answer to that is the movement type which gets determined in your inbound delivery, not in the warehouse task, right? So there will be, if we are not dealing with the POSC process flow, then how would it be that you create an inbound delivery, then you, let's say, create a warehouse task for put away, right? But in this example, there are multiple steps, so there could be multiple WPT involved. So the main WPT, I'll call this as a main WPT because this is the one which is determined in your inbound delivery based on the setup which we have seen earlier, based on the document type of your inbound delivery, etc., and the process type indicator. So this is the main WPT. To this you need to assign the storage process, not to any other WPT which is there in your POSC. You could have, let's say, 5 steps, for example, hypothetically speaking. So you could have, let's say, 5 step. Not that you can't have it, but just imagine for the moment. So, and for each separate step, you have a separate WPT. Now you need to just focus on your main WPT. When I say main, the one which gets determined in your inbound delivery, to that you assign the storage process control value and not to any other one. You have to leave the rest of the movement type or the WPT. I'm still using the term which is kind of used in SAP but so to your other WPT, leave this field blank. So this was the main point of confusion, which is not kind of explained you know in the other information which I have accessed. There are pretty good information available on web. You should certainly access those and go through those, because I'm not going to talk about the POSC or in very much detail, but I want to talk about the specific points. Now, coming back here, so let's imagine for a moment that you created a punch in a inbound delivery, or you got it from EDI or any interface. You got an ASN in S4 or ECC, and that's been transmitted to your EWM system. You got an inbound delivery over here. Now, in your inbound delivery, there will be products, right? So those material or all of those material, or maybe one of the material in those in that inbound delivery, there is a POSC relevant WPT which has been determined. And in our scenario, we have configured INB2 as a process. Now the INB2, unlike the INB1 process flow, it also has an addition step of VAS, which is Valuated service. Imagine that we have to put a label on the product, before we do a final put away. So these are the relevant one, right? So I've not created a separate WPT for each of the step. You can certainly create those, because you would want to track your warehouse tasks separately and etc. And you might want to have some separate setting in those individual WPT, not pertaining to POSC as such, but right. So this is the very first one. So how it works is that once you have the inbound delivery in EWM system will identify the material wherein you have updated the process type indicator in it, and that same process type indicator is mapped to your determination table. Now, basis that, system will identify the WPT, and this determination is not specific as such to the POSC. It is a general, uh, you know, way of system to determine the WPT which is relevant for your inbound delivery, or could be for outbound one. The over here, the only point is that the value S1 is being assigned to your material master, for which or to the product which will go through these specific steps. Now, once we have it determined, now system will come to this particular option, and it will read through all the relevant steps. You know, it will go through that INB2 POSC functionality, and it will see that how many steps are there. And once you, okay, let's go here. So now system has reached here. Now this is the source. This is the door. Just 1 second. So this is the door through which I'm going to receive my product. Now Before doing the POSC, I would suggest that you have the door determination and the staging area determination setup done, so that when you create an inbound delivery, your goods movement bin is determined in that. I'm not using TU. For TU, if you're using TU, there is a setup in shipping and receiving configuration which you have to do. Now coming back to this step, without TU or without yard management, we are doing it. So this is a door which is assigned to your warehouse, and then there will be a staging area assigned to your warehouse to door itself, or a staging area or bay, which is nothing but a bin. Now I've also used a door determination group in your my material master, so that system already knows in advance that it has to pass through this particular door when we receive the inbound delivery. Now this is the handling unit type group. So my product is going to come in a kind of box, and that box will have a value assigned to it, which is known as HU type. HU type, it kind of explains to the system that what kind of box it is in terms of its physical dimension. Let's say, for example, we are only using three type of boxes in our warehouse. One is small size box, one is medium, and the other one is large size box. So all again, these are the size of box, but I would have let's say a wooden box, I would have a carton, I would have a wire basket, both, and I have all those type of handling which I have explained. They are all of them are in the same sizes, like small, medium, large. So any handling unit which is of the medium size, I've assigned the HU type of those to this HU type group. And the handling unit type, because my carton wherein I'm going to pack the product, which I receive from the vendor, the packed product in that carton, that will be assigned to a handling unit itself type. That handling unit type is in the configuration assigned to the handling unit type group. So this is again a separate topic, about the handling unit. So I recommend that you go through that to gain more clarity about it. Now coming back to the POSC one, in nutshell, this value is kind of indirectly assigned to the packaging material. Now coming back to the topic, so there are two functionality. Either you can hard code the values, as in, of these are not exactly, I mean, you can change it in the configuration and create a TR and move it, etc. But there is another option, is that rule based, which means that you want system to determine the value dynamically, right? Not, you don't need to hard code it. So how it works exactly is that when your truck arrives in your warehouse, you will the operator or the person who is working in the GR zone or that area, he will go and unload the truck, right? So he'll pick up the handling unit and or the box or the carton or the pallet. He will unload it, and he will put it in the staging area, through that door. Now you can, so basically from the door, the product has to go to the staging area. So since I've already assigned used a door determination functionality and the door is assigned to the staging area, I'm not putting anything over here. So the very first step talks about anyways about the unloading, which is to move the product from your truck to the staging area, which is assigned to your door. And like I said, so if you have the door determination activated in your material master, so there are other parameter based on which system can determine the door, of course, but I'm using the door determination group. So system will, in your inbound delivery, system will determine that, and it will populate the goods movement bin field as well. Now, once the unloading step is done, the next step would be uh, to deconsolidate. Assume that I have a pallet on which I have different products. Each product has to go to different bin, or a bin which is assigned to different activity area or a consolidation group. So which means I need to ultimately break down the pallet before I finally send the products to their way on their way to their destination bin. So this step signifies that deconsolidation one. Again, it's a deconsolidation in itself is a separate topic, so you can go through that. And in this case, I've not it's not kind of dynamic, it's a kind of a static one. So the movement system identifies that it has to perform this step. System will always move the product to this deconsolidation area. So there is a option provided by EWM wherein you can set up it to determine separate deconsolidation work center. Now this is a bin which is assigned to the deconsolidation work centers. This itself, in itself, it's not a deconsolidation work center value. Now, like I said earlier, that there would be a couple of WPT which I'll be using in my POSC, but to the main WPT, you need to assign the POSC value. So these are blank, and I've used the very same one in all the uh, three steps: unloading, deconsolidation, value-added service, and the final one is the put away. But this is the value which is there in, you will get to see when the moment you get your inbound delivery, not these one. So the rest of the value you get to see once you convert or you process your inbound delivery to create the warehouse task. The moment you do that, system will be creating the warehouse task for each individual step. And we're going to see that in a moment. So like I said, it's not a dynamic one. So there is nothing like rule based. For the last step, for the next step, which is value-added service, this is the work center. This is not exactly the work center. This is the bin which is assigned to the work center again. I've kind of hard coded it. And value-added service again is a separate topic in itself. Not going to talk about that either over here. Now, you can notice that these fields are left blank. These are left blank because, except this one, because these are left blank because when it comes to the creation of warehouse task for the next step, system will consider the destination bin of the previous step as the source for the next one. We'll see in a bit when we create the warehouse task, you'll notice that whatever value is here becomes a source value for the task which is related with this particular step. So destination one, I've kept it blank because the system will determine the staging area which is assigned to the door in the inbound delivery. So I don't have to assign it. Again, there is a setup through which you can make it dynamic, but I haven't used it. This one, IB03 is my final step. Although you see the sequence, the VAS step as the last one, but that is not the case. The sequence system will read from this configuration, not from here. So it can be your very first step, because these are just the keywords. And this is the value which is represents again the work center for value-added service. The most important part in this POC is that you correctly define these values. Rest of the steps are pretty much straightforward, I would say. The major point, like I said, is to identify the main WPT, which you would know anyways, and assign the inbound the POC to that. Then assign the relevant values if you have the dynamic option, so that system is able to determine the the destination detail dynamically. You mark the rule based, and as it would be the case in real time, you wouldn't have just one work center for your deconsolidation. You would have probably 3 lanes in your inbound, or maybe 4 or 5 lanes, and you will have there will be each lane would be having its own deconsolidation work center or a VAS related work center. So when I say work center, they are physically the workstation wherein the people are standing and the goods are arriving at those desktop those workstations, and they are doing the processing. It could be that the product arrives at the work center or the workstation to perform those activities on the product through a forklift or on a cart, or could be a conveyor and etc. So in warehouse, we are not, like I said, we are not really changing the state of the product. And of course, it can happen that your product has been expired, then the product, is not usable. There could be perishable product, etc. But I'm not exact in terms of work center. We are not kind of, it's not a production related work center wherein we are manufacturing anything. There could be certain exception in terms of kitting, etc. But again, we are just kind of, in terms of kitting, we are assembling the product. Now let's have a look at the INB2 process, which we have over here. So this is the sequence which is important. If you remember the previous screen, the VAS-J was the last step. Here it is at the number 3. So this is the sequence which is important in terms of informing system that when if a product is relevant or involved in this storage process, then these are the steps and this is the sequence which has to follow. A means the automatic creation of the warehouse task, which we certainly want, because so that our operator knows that these are the warehouse tasks which needs to be processed in a certain sequence. And of course, it's not just one operator who's performing all the steps all together. There are different people or different operator with handle devices or accessing the system through GUI, etc. And performing those. So there may or may not be the same person who is responsible for all of these. In our case, IB02 is done by a deconsolidation step is happening at the work center relevant for it, which is a separate operator, and this is a separate one. Now, I've already talked about is about the automatic creation of it. For the last step, we don't need it. It will happen automatically anyways once the previous steps are completed. So this step signifies when are we going to do the good receipt posting in the system. So as far as the unloading step is concerned, you can't really separate out the good receipt step and the unloading. They are kind of it's embedded in in the unloading step. So the moment you confirm the warehouse task for unloading, the GGR anyways happens. So I've marked it. This is the time which is helpful and relevant for labor management, etc. So as to know, how much time it should take for an operator to perform this step, or for where your warehouse cockpit to see the graphs, and alerts, etc. So now once we are through with this, and this is at the core. So if you understand the point which I have explained, you're good to go with the POSC process. Create one, assign it to your WPT, and assign that WPT, get it determined for your material, and you're good to go. So I already have uh, one purchase order created, so we can leverage that. So we have 3 different products. So I'm going to reduce the quantity so that I can reuse it. So I packed all the products in the very same handling unit. It could be a pallet or just a carton. This is a serialized product, so I've assigned a serial number. When it comes to your handling unit, you can assign the serial number over using this functionality, that these are the serial number which went inside this handling unit. And this is a separate topic, so skipping that, we'll save it. One thing which I've not captured here in this recording is the master data part, like the WPT indicator. I haven't demonstrated like where it gets assigned to the material master and the handling unit setup, etc. But those are pretty straightforward, so skipping those as well. Now have a look. Let's have a look at the inbound delivery which we have received from S4HANA into EWM system. So these were the three items which we saw in our inbound delivery. And let's have a look at the handling unit. So they were packed, they came in the same pallet or the same handling unit. And before we do the final put away, system should tell us that the product has to go through the specific steps as per the POSC. The very first product is serial number active at the warehouse level. So this is the WPT, which I called as our main WPT, inside which we have the inbound, the POSC value assigned that is being determined. This is the warehouse door, which has been determined by the system. And the door is assigned to the staging area or staging bay. The value for the door is populated in the goods movement bin, since we are not using the TU or yard management. So it looks all good. Now we will proceed with the next step. So there are the different option of like unloading pack, etc. So we are not going through those. We are just going to use the option of creation of warehouse task. And this is the moment wherein system will read your POSC functionality, and it will determine like how many steps has to be performed. This value is determined from this particular main WPT. All your products are in the handling unit. So it's a HU task. Now we'll create the warehouse task. So since system has already read the POSC functionality or the value, and it has, if the POSC process is configured properly, it would read all the steps. Like there are 4 steps, and we are not skipping any of the steps for any of the product. So system would now has created certain warehouse task. It's although we have 4 steps, but it's not that for each step system has created the warehouse task. What system has done is system has created one warehouse task for your unloading step, because it is just one pallet. If I would have created 3 pallet in the same inbound delivery, then for unloading system would have created 3 pallet, but physically it's just one pallet or one box, right? So once you pick that box, that is done. You don't have to pick it thrice just because there are 3 products on that pallet or in the HU, right? Because they are on the very same pallet. So there is one task which is created for your handling unit, and there are 3 tasks which are created for your final put away. And because why it is created the task for the final put away, because 3060 was used here for was for your main put away process. But between your unloading and the final put away, there are other steps which has to happen, right? The vast relevant step, once unloading done is done, then gonna deconsolidate consolidate it, and then we're gonna do perform the value-added service step, and finally the put away has to happen. But then the question comes, which becomes relevant here is that then why system has not created all the tasks for all these steps? Why it has just created for the very first step and for the very last step, but why not for the in between steps if they are still relevant? And they are pretty much. So we're gonna see that how system is going to, and when system is going to create the task for the in between steps if it hasn't done already. So you can see that these are the 4 tasks which are created just now. This is the single HU wherein we have 3 different products. The task, this particular task is for your very first step, which is your inbound unloading. Now, if you see the sequence of the warehouse task is that system has first created the warehouse task for your final put away, right? Which is IB03. What we notice over here is that there are tasks which are missing in between for the steps which are there in your INB2 POSC. Now, system has already created the final task and the very first step one. Now, what we're going to do is, if you have a handle device, you can process it on your RF device. Otherwise, we are going to just confirm the warehouse task using the monitor in the background. Now, once we do it, important point to notice over here is that even though the final put away tasks are created, but the status is B, which is in waiting status, which means that even if you try to process them, you can't. So system has put them on hold. It's just that system has created those already in advance. And if you remember in POSC configuration, there was a checkbox called A, which we marked, except for the last one. And that is the reason we didn't mark for the last one, because anyways, these tasks gets created. And that is how, it works. So we have confirmed, that we have unloaded the pallet from the truck or the TU if you have a TU involved or vehicle. And we have got the product in our staging area. The moment we complete that, and you can notice the WPT in each step. So ignore these these are the last one, they are still in B. So the step number, this warehouse task we have confirmed, the status is coming as C. Now the moment very first step in your POSC gets confirmed, system will automatically create the next one. Right, and the status is blank, which means it is ready for processing. Like I said, in unloading and good receipt, they go hand in hand. So once you confirm the unloading tasks, the GR anyways get posted in the system, which means that the information from this good receipt posting gets updated in your inbound delivery, as well as it has to go to your ECC system or to S/4HANA inbound delivery, and should update your good receipt posting over there. And if the product is valuated, the relevant accounting document has to get created. Even if it is not a valuated product, the relevant GL has to be hit, GRI account, etc., and all that. So now coming back to the EWM stuff. So as we can see, the products have moved from your door to your this thing staging area. Now, if you remember in our POSC, we left the destination bin or the details of your destination bin for the very first step blank, because system is capable to determine it based on the setup we have done. Also, for the next step in POSC, we left the source bin details blank, storage type and the source detail blank. And I explained at that time is that whatever you have in your destination becomes your source in the next step. For the destination one in your POSC, I have hard coded the value, and like I said, it is possible to have it dynamically determined if you have maintained the relevant setup, for that determination. IB02 is our next step. So we are going to confirm the task. So what is happening physically is that previously we picked up the pallet from the truck or the box wherein we have those 3 products, 1 quantity each for each product in that same box. We picked up the box and got it through door in our staging area. Now physically we are moving the product further from the staging area to our deconsolidation workstation. and in EWM it will be represented as a work center. So although in my scenario I have kept the bin number and the work center name nomenclature is same, but it might not be the same, and it's not necessarily needs to be same. uh, so this is just a bin, so your work center value could be different one. In my case it's still the same to avoid any confusion. So we have confirmed that we have got the product at the work center for deconsolidation step. So by confirming this warehouse task, we are not completing the deconsolidation step. We are kind of initiating it, because once we confirm the warehouse task, what we are telling to the system that, okay, it's we are good, and we have received the product at the deconsolidation work center. Now the work can commence at the decon station. So there is a specific T code for accessing the work center for deconsolidation. There is a separate T code to access the uh, work center for value-added service. So now let's find that T code. So there are already some of the HUs are still there which haven't been processed, but I'm not gonna do anything on those. So let's jump to the deconsolidation. So what we are doing over here is, in this step, is that at the work center or at the workstation, physically we are breaking down the pallet into a smaller one, or opening that box and repacking the product into separate box. There is a very good informative video on YouTube on this by a different trainer. You should refer to that on the deconsolidation topic. So we broke down the pallet, original pallet, and moved one product out of it. Now we are going to repeat the same step for the rest of items in this pallet. Once the task is done, we are clicking this checkbox just to inform system that we have really completed the step. And if your setup and everything is fine, you can notice this symbol over here, person kind of pushing a cart or something. And this, which what it means is that we are able to complete the work in our work center, and system will initiate or create a warehouse task for the next step. So let me finish it off for all the HUs. Now, jumping onto the warehouse monitor to check the status. Even though now in this example, just out of this topic, instead of, every time clicking on this button and then entering the selection parameter, you can default it. Okay, let's skip that for a moment. Basically, in your warehouse monitors, a separate node will be created, and you just have to click that node, and system will populate these values automatically, and you'll get the final outcome. You don't have to click here and then feed in the selection parameter and then get to the next screen. So I'll probably cover that in a separate video for the warehouse monitor. So let's have a look at it. What has happened? We see there are a lot of warehouse tasks which are created now. And we see that the original task which we had is still in the waiting status for IB03. So if you look at these tasks, the source and the destination is same, but the handling unit has changed. As you know, we broke down the palette and created a new handling unit. So system has to capture that particular step. System has created the warehouse task for those one, right? Now once, sorry. Now once we are done with the deconsolidation step, so you can ignore all these one. These are the three which are still in the waiting status for the final put away. Rest all are work created as an outcome of our IB01 and IB02 step. Now looking at the unhighlighted one, these are the one which are created for the VAS activity, because that was the third step in our POSC. So the product has to go from deconsolidation area to the VAS work center. Now we will confirm the warehouse task. What it means that physically we have picked up the product from the deconsolidation workstation, and we are moving it towards the VAS work center. And by the way of confirming it, what it signifies is that we have received the product at the VAS work center. Once you confirm the warehouse task, then only the product will appear in your VAS work center. So let's confirm for all of these. Now in terms of VAS, so far we have been dealing with the handling unit, and the handling unit originated from your inbound delivery. But when it comes to your value-added service, whatever steps you have to perform, whatever activity you have to perform as part of this value-added service, they will be derived from your packaging specification setup, and your PUSC. You could have multiple VAS related activities, let's say VAS 1, 2, 3, 4, etc. And all of them needs to be mapped into your POC. But in our case, we'll just have one VAS step and assume that we're just putting an additional label on the product or putting a user manual along with the product. So this task is done, and we can see that still the original ones are in, or the task for the destination put away and destination bin are still in the waiting status. So what we are going to do is that we're going to run towards the VAS work center. So let's access the T code for that. Once your VAS order is created, it gets updated or aligned with your inbound delivery. You can access it from your inbound delivery itself. So these are the latest numbers, which I believe should be ours, which we created just now. Before this, let's go to inbound delivery. In value-added service, there can be cases when you're setting it up, it's not working, and you're not able to. You see that even though you have activated the automatic creation of VAS order for your document type, if it is still not creating, then what I would suggest is that you should try to create a VAS order manually, and system will give you the log that why it's not able to identify the packaging specification. You can see that there is a VAS order which has been created for that particular product. Even though all the HUs have moved to the VAS related work center, but only out of those three, only one of those is relevant for the VAS activity. I've not maintained the setup for other two, which means that we shouldn't have really got the other two products over there, which means that setup has to be separate for those two. But this just for the kind of understanding purpose, I've created this setup, not really relevant for your real-time scenario. So you can notice that this is the VAS step and this is the work center. Now, when it comes to POSC for the VAS one, So the packaging specification which you are going to create for your VAS activity, ensure that the external process step is mentioned in the packaging specification, and the same external step is mentioned in your POSC, right? So the VAS order is 1003. So let's move on to the VAS work center. Now, once I've processed I've done the VAS related activity on the product and I've completed the VAS order, which is from the previous status, it has turned into completed. Now let's have a look at the warehouse monitor to see the status of the warehouse task which were created earlier. Now you should notice one thing is that if we focus on the IB03 relevant task, one of those has become open for processing. Since I've already completed all the previous steps which were relevant, VAS, deconsolidation, unloading, etc., and I've confirmed and I've completed the VAS order also, and you know all the necessary steps are also done. The label has been added onto the product, pasted on the product. Now we are free to do the final put away of this particular HU. So again, if you have handle device, queue management, resource management, etc., then you can process it over there. Or for the sake of simplicity, we'll just confirm the warehouse task, which confirms that the product has been finally put away into its destination bin. So until you confirm or you complete the step in your work center for the rest of those two, in reality, I mean, these warehouse tasks will still be in the waiting status. In this example, there was no packaging specification maintained, etc. But due to the POC setup, system has moved the product to these, VAS work center, which is kind of not a real-time example, but I guess you get the meaning of the setup of which we have done here. So this kind of concludes the steps or the process flow which is related with your POSC. Let's have a quick look at the material master. If I can locate the So this is the value or the indicator which is assigned in material master, and it's a critical link in the chain for determining the WPT. I've activated the storage area determination group and I've done the relevant setup also. So once I get the inbound delivery, all the data gets populated automatically. So that's kind of completes the topic.